Hermes draw near, and to my prayer incline, in art's gymnastic and in fraud divine.
Dire weapon of the tongue which men revere, be present, Hermes, and thyself plant here.
Welcome to Third Eye Bind, episode 24, Glamour Magick.
Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Kaitlyn.
And welcome to Third Eye Bind.
This week, we're talking about Glamour Magick. But first, of course, let's see what the cards have in store for us
and
today.
even before that, if you like us enough, please like, subscribe, rate. There's like a good amount of ratings now. Thank you so much for
Thank you so much. Leave us a rating. Write us a review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. Leave a comment on your favorite episodes on YouTube.
Leave a nice comment. Mm-hmm. And if you really, 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 really like us, you can support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/thirdEyeBind.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Let's
Glamour.
Let's get into it.
Let's pull a card.
I know what card I associate with glamour, but I feel like we never pull the card I think we're going to pull.
I have an idea of what. Did something just jump out?
Is this the one?
I have an idea of what it might be, but I'm curious to see if that actually happens.
Okay, that's it. Don't cut the deck? No. Okay. New rules.
What is it? Oh, I saw. Is it wands?
I pulled the Six of Swords.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay, this is actually really perfect. So in the Six of Swords, if you're looking at the Smith-Waite deck or another deck inspired by that one, what you'll see is a boat, a figure who is rowing the boat, and then two figures who are sitting in that boat being transported to the other side. And they're being transported over rough waters. But in the distance, you'll see really smooth, calm waters and a really beautiful shore on the other side. And I think one of the most magical things about Glamour Magick is that it really has the power to transport us from this place of not really feeling ourselves, not really feeling good, not feeling confident, into a space of feeling like we have some sort of agency and control, if not on the environment around us, on ourselves and the way that we may react and respond to the situations that we encounter. When I think of how the Six of Swords relates to it, it's really about how glamour transports us to another place, to another part of ourselves, one of the many parts of ourselves. And ultimately, with the swords, the suit is about communication. And when we invoke Glamour Magick, we are communicating a message, both to ourselves, our subconscious, and to the world around us with the way that they view the glamour that we are putting out to be perceived. Mm-hmm. So I like this actually a lot.
That makes a lot of sense because it's a transmutation from one destination or a perception to another perception, like in so many different ways.
It's like alchemy.
It is like, I feel like when I was thinking about this topic that it just brought up like every part of my practice. Like every part of it, like it touches a lot of different mediums.
Yes.
Not mediums like a psychic, but like mediums like a discipline or like you know, a type of magic. It's really interesting, and I was thinking about the ways like some things can be glamour magic without you like realizing that it's glamour magic, you know. And because what do you think of when you think of like glamour magic? Makeup, right? And I think a lot of what people know about it, and that's the first go-to, is like putting on makeup, putting on a face, putting on something that makes you feel good about yourself, or like, and covering something that maybe you don't want to feel or see at the moment, which is okay. If you're doing it to like, you know, give yourself power, right? And to that, I identify with that as someone who, for numerous reasons, is wearing a fuck ton of makeup right now. like changing that as like, oh, I have to wear makeup, therefore I'm not pretty enough naturally for myself right now. Like changing that bullshit mindset to being like, no, I'm wearing foundation as a protective cover, as for against the elements of life and against other people's energies. Like you can activate things like that.
Absolutely.
To assist in what you're doing, right? And it's such a, I think it's one of the most accessible in that I think a lot of people do it without knowing they're doing it. And it's probably a pretty simple shift in intention to like activate those things that you're already sort of doing, maybe for reasons that aren't as helpful for you as like glamour magic can be, right?
I definitely, this was something I was reflecting on last night and this morning as we were prepping for this episode, but the beauty industry has definitely kind of like, I don't know if perverted is the right word for it, but it's kind of like turned glamour on its head. And it's kind of like weaponized glamour against us and made it something that we have to do to fix all the things that are wrong with ourselves.
Right.
You need to buy this product. You need to do this to your face. And like you said, you know, glamour can be used to protect us and to enhance certain parts of ourselves. I was telling you the other day that I had to talk to one of my children's friends' moms about some witchy things. But before I went into that conversation, I like sat down that morning, I put a full face on, I put eyeliner on, I put eyelashes on, I put a cool outfit on, because it made me feel more confident. And it kind of masked a lot of the fear and anxiety that I have in going into uncomfortable conversations. But through this simple ritual of adorning myself, which I think is a very human thing, wanting to adorn and decorate ourselves, the world around us, I had the confidence to approach that situation and have a conversation without feeling like I had to scrunch up small and acquiesce to some silliness. I actually, you know, held my ground and had a really wonderful conversation that I felt like I was directing rather than feeling like a victim of the conversation. And really, like, it had everything to do with eyeliner
with your face,
with eyeliner and lip liner and some cool boots. And like, that was my costume that put me in a place to be able to have a difficult conversation.
Right. I mean, that's been, I'm going to go to like the history of the word glamour for a minute, right?
Yes.
So the word glamour was a Scottish word meaning a spell that would like affect eyesight and objects would appear differently and things like that. It's always sort of meant that. It's a Scottish word I couldn't pronounce, so I didn't even fucking write it down.
I thought that was really interesting about the
like
origin of glamour too. Like, it really was about magic from the get.
From the get.
Yeah.
But it was sort of like villainized. You know, it was like not a good thing always to a glamour was like a fucking like
a trick.
Like, yeah, a trick. Exactly. So there's this dude named Sir Walter Scott, and he wrote a poem, and that sort of contextualized the word glamour further. And I'm gonna read it to you because it's kind of nice. You may bethink you of the spell of that sly urchin page. This to his lord did impart, and made him seen by glamour art, a knight from hermitage.
Yeah.
Like, this guy fooled you into thinking he was a knight.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
A simple page.
A simple page. So, isn't that interesting?
I think that's interesting for a couple of reasons. One, because we have the like very obvious illusion of being, you know, a page presenting themselves as a knight through glamour. But then when we think about the history of the tarot, the pages have traditionally been associated with like women, femmes, and children. So it's interesting to me because glamour is overwhelmingly associated with like women and femmes, and for it to be a page to be tricking somebody is,
because back then that was, the context wasn't like female centric yet.
No.
It wasn't. So that happened it was like diabolical. That was like not, it was, but then in the 1920s, that's when the Roaring 20s happened and everyone was glam as fuck, they started saying glamour as like a sense of like style.
Yes.
And that's sort of where the female centric, that's where it started.
And then it got really wrapped up into like Hollywood and Hollywood starlets.
Yes. And even like this point came from an article I should mention, but it's called The Dark Art of Glamour from 2013 by Autumn Whitefield Medrano, who pointed this out, that female villains in pop culture are often very glamorous.
Yes.
So this diabolical nature has been associated with that term. I love that it's like there's a duality to it, because that's the whole point of glamour is duality, right? Yeah. It's the thing, but it's not the thing.
Yeah.
I just fucking love that.
Yeah. You know, when you think of like Maleficent and Ursula.
Cruella de Vil.
They're fucking fabulous.
Yeah.
They're incredible. They're gorgeous.
The Snow White queen.
Yes. But they're also like
they're
obsessive.
Beautiful, but they're also.
And villainous.
Which is kind of fucking badass because like we talk about like feminine energy and goddess energy is not just not evil.
No.
Evil in a traditional sense. Like it's also really dark and twisted, and that's okay.
And it also speaks to like the demonization of all things feminine that happen under a patriarchal society. Like if you want to be glamorous, there must be something devious about you.
There must be something
And
devious.
yet cis men crave that glamour and attention from glamorous people. Isn't that fucked
It's
up?
like the term diva.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that.
It's slightly insulting, but it's
like,
also
is
like...
it an insult or is it not? Like, how do you mean that? And when did it turn into an insult? Because it was like an opera singer reference, I think, for a long time. In a good way.
Something I was reflecting on quite a bit is, as I was researching, I found a lot of articles, mostly written by men, about equating glamour to manipulation. And like manipulation is what magic is. Manipulation's not inherently evil or
what's the intent, right?
Right. It's a neutral word, manipulation.
If you're manipulating yourself for your own benefit, sure.
Why not?
Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Manipulative is a term that's like really a negative term in our society today, but like the term, like words have different meanings over fucking time, right?
Yeah.
And in this time and place that we live in, glamour is kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
But back then in fucking Sir Walter Scott's time, in I'm guessing Scotland, I don't know, England probably sounds pretty English.
Yeah.
It was a negative term and it had nothing to do with like makeup or adorning yourself or.
It was tricks.
But before that, because the Scottish word is a magical word. I'm wondering like things we don't have records for, like what did that mean to like my fucking ancestors, you know, like what did that mean to like pagan people of Scotland, the Celtic people of Scotland? Like what did that term entail? I'm sure it had to do with fucking fairies because that's, you know what I mean? And the fae, but it's like, I want to know like what, anyway, like the term manipulative is currently in our time a negative thing.
Currently
but like,
negative. But
words are weird like that, right?
And I dug into the etymology of manipulation because then I got really curious. And it originated in 1730. Well, it had already been going before that. But by 1730, it was a method of digging up ore. So like precious metals, right? And then it became a sense of skillful handling of objects by 1826.
Right.
And like, that's fucking magic.
It's like an alchemist or like a scientist or something.
Again, like all of these definitions are really neutral. they don't have one direction or another. But I think it's interesting that people who aren't magical can perceive glamour magic as a negative type of manipulation,
or a vain type of
vanity.
Vanity is another term that I'm like, I'm vain as fuck, I think.
Yeah.
Said the Gemini, because we're Geminis, in case you didn't know. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a term that's not just for makeup. Like it's like you said with the manipulation of the rocks and the ore. Like it's handling something. Like technically, I'm manipulative. You're manipulative, but there's more than one meaning to that now, and it's like. That's really interesting.
Well, like magic is manipulating energy and manipulating our perception of things and our ideas of how things could go. And so, I don't know, it's interesting. I also keep coming back to, like, in the back of my mind, how in a patriarchal society, like, there's so much hate toward people who enjoy glamour. Who like find a sense of power from glamour, whether it's like a woman or a drag queen, or even like if we think about, you know, I'm gender nonconforming, but if we think about transness and how that really, it can be, you don't always have to change your appearance, but for some trans folks, changing your appearance is part of what helps you find yourself and really embody this version of yourself that feels more true and real and authentic. And like I think that's glamour magic too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it does take some, you know, manipulation, but so does like getting dressed in the morning.
Right.
Like I could just be in my sweatpants all day, and most days I am.
Most days I am too.
But on certain days I'm like, no, I'm getting fucking dressed today. And it makes me feel different about myself and the world around me.
I think it's like, and it doesn't mean that you're like conforming to like societal standard. You can go that way and maybe shifting your focus on how you dress yourself, like why you dress yourself that way for you, and making it about you is a way to sort of combat that, because that's not what that means.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You don't have to look
but
like.
there are still, like, when you go, I'm thinking of like a job interview, you need to dress a certain way. It's the way that like corporations put down these rules on how people look, and you know, you can't have tattoos that show. Tattoos are glamour magic.
Yeah.
And more. But yeah. And then how, you know, they don't allow Black people to wear their natural hair. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
or just, it's like distracting you from, it's like anything that makes you stand out to them is like, no, we don't want that, because they want you to be like a worker bee, right?
Well, and even like choosing, like, say you really fucking need a job and it's somewhere like, you know, that's not for you, that place is not for you, but you need the money.
Yeah.
Like putting on the costume of that environment can be glamour magic.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily like your most authentic self, you are like channeling the frequency of a space so that you can get hired. And then
so
maybe be yourself once you get there.
Yeah. And so you can like get through the day.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right though. Using that. Yeah. I mean, that's just tactical. Like use it in a tactical way.
Right.
Because you want to get the job, right? Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
Right.
That's fake it till you make it.
Glamour
truly.
doesn't always have to be about like being your most obvious and like out self. It can also be about like, I don't know, it's kind of like snake energy of like slithering your way into a space where you need to be, even though it might not be like the greatest expression of who you are. If you've got to be there, you can like use your glamour magic to get yourself to fit in and to make people think like, oh, this person totally belongs here.
Is like lying on your resume glamour magic? I think it might be.
Maybe.
I think it might be. Or is stretching the truth a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, where do we... Hey, that's a good idea.
I mean, corporations lie about caring for you, so I don't see why you can't lie about your past like
cares.
salary.
If you know you can do the job, then get it. Fake it till you make it. You know? That's really interesting.
What are some ways that you like to practice glamour magic?
Well, you know, it's funny because I I'm a really creative person. I consider myself a creatrix. That's the axis of my magic, right? And it's really funny because I use mirrors all the time in my magical practices. I always have one on my altar. I have multiple. Like, I want one facing me while I practice. And I know that's not the jam for everybody. But for me, I really like looking at myself.
Yeah.
And almost like scrying into my own face, which is a fucking trip.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know what exactly that means about me, but I do know that glamour and color and adornment is a huge part of what I do. And mirrors, to me, amplify and reflect like what I'm doing. For me, it feels very like they're the silent witness to my power.
Ooh, yes.
Quite honest, they're the second person in the room. Second person. I'm a Gemini, remember? So that's duality. It's almost like reflecting that duality.
You can see your twin.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and seeing that myself like in those spaces with like candlelight on my face makes me feel magical, because that's like my inner witch. That's me. That's also me. I'm me, and I'm also me, like in that moment, because I don't always like dress up when I do rituals, but sometimes I do. I don't know. What about you? Do you like to adorn yourself when you do like shit like that?
It depends. So, I mean, part of my practice is wearing all white for a lot of stuff. And I do believe like that is a form of glamour magic, of like ritually bathing beforehand, putting on fresh white clothing, tying my hair back, having a clean face. Like, that's a form of glamour magic that's different than like the glamour magic I do before I get ready for the show, which is like stage Kaitlyn.
It's true. Like, do I wear this dress ever? Fuck no. Am I wearing it now? Yeah, because it's the glam. This is what I've interpreted as glamour, right?
Well, and you also touched on something that I think is really important in glamour magic, is like a power color.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always have to be the same color. Like, for a long time, it was a red lip for me. Like, if I'm wearing a red lip, I'm fucking on. But like, to choose a color and to like channel it,
can we talk about
into
colors?
Your clothing? Oh, that's magical.
Like white, you wearing white, and other cultures and magical practitioners that wear white, that is absolutely glamour. That is channeling that color's energy to help out in what you're doing for whatever reason that is, right? It's like black as a power color for witches. I mean, black is a powerful color.
It's protected. It's the color of all of creation, all at fucking once.
Right.
Which is amazing.
And it's all and nothing, and it blends in and also stands out. And it's all these cool things, right? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm wearing lime green, which to me is very bright, and that's just
it's kind of like juicy and fey energy.
It's like a pear or something.
I love
have,
it.
like like bright green eyeshadow on, and like it's.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very Laura. It's very show Laura.
Yes.
It's just and it's not just I think it's not just adorning yourself too. It's like adorning your space.
Absolutely.
Painting. I mean, that's all I fucking do. Painting, like choosing objects even that have certain colors, like this amber spirit. I mean, I didn't do it on purpose. That's what I just had. But like the color of that, like if you're drawn to color, like what does that say about you in the moment? Like I'm constantly shifting. Like my nail colors are never the same twice.
Yes, I feel like nails really are.
Nails are glamour.
Magic.
My fake ass nails are a glamour, because for a long time I'd keep them short for practice. Like I played the ukulele a lot, so. And I'm not Dolly Parton. I can't play them with this. So
I sure wish I was, though.
I sure wish I was. That's Dolly Parton is glamour.
Yes, absolutely.
Glamour magic.
She is glamour magic.
Absolutely. I just got chills because absolutely that woman is.
I was listening to her the whole way here. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't care what people think of. She never did.
No.
And that's her stage. That's
stage
Dolly.
Character. Yes,
that's Dolly.
That is glamour magic.
Unapologetically, like being yourself and not giving a fuck what people that's brave and it's glamour. That's magic. Dolly Parton's magical, but we knew that already. But yes, nails, my claws, my witchy hands,
My
like
talons.
it just like it points my energy. Like if we're talking about just weird nitpicky stuff, like elongating my fingers like makes it feel and look what I perceive to be witchy.
Me too.
Me too. And like
magic wand. It's kind of like
it's like a wand. It's like having little wands. And I don't know. It also is practical because I have dermatillomania, so I pick my skin of my hands.
Me too. It's what made me stop. It's the
Made
only
me stop
thing.
too. Yeah. If anyone out there is suffering from dermatillomania, the skin picky kind, because I know it's also the hair pulling out, and I can't help you there, but get some Gel X or fake nails, because let me tell you, the picking sensation that you like to feel when you have that and it gives you pleasure, it doesn't give you pleasure. It doesn't give me pleasure when you're picking with a fake nail on top of your nail.
It's not the same.
No. It is so, it feels gross. Feel like your nail's going to bend off backwards almost. And that's not a good, that's happened to me before. Don't get acrylics on your toes in 1999. That's not the way. We don't need a French tip on our toes for prom. We don't need that. That wasn't my prom. That was my junior. It was for something. I was like, I'm not aging myself. It's like 2003. Anyway, in the early 2000s, that was a thing.
Acrylic on the toes.
At least in my town, it was. It was what everybody was doing. But short, not long. But like, yeah. My boyfriend like jumped and sat back on the couch, and then his heel hit my toenail and it bent backwards.
No.
It was not okay. So don't do that.
I hate it.
I don't recommend, unless you like maybe you're missing like most of your nail and you like need to do it. Anyway, sorry about that. If you suffer from that, that's a glamour that literally cured my freaking mental illness. Okay.
Me too. I used to pick my cuticles until they were bloody and like bite and bite. And
I'd eat my skin.
And it hurt.
It was delicious.
And I couldn't stop. And it would frustrate me so much. But putting this like glamour over my nails literally stopped it. And sometimes I feel a little guilty and shameful for doing it. And then I'm like, no, this has helped your mental health.
No, I forget like, I should take them off. And I'm like, I can't do it because my thumb, look at my thumb. They look fine, right? Yeah. This one, most of my life, feel right there. It's kind of, you can still kind of feel it. It would be just swollen and disgusting.
I used to have like knots on my fingers from like biting so much. Wow. And
it's a thing. It's a real, like, it's an OCD related thing that I didn't know there was a name for until last fucking year. So that's why I keep saying it. And there's like help. If you have dermatillomania, you can get help and you're not alone.
Yes, you're not
such
alone.
a shameful ass weird thing where people just look at you and go, ew, that's gross. Why are you doing that? And you're like, I have deep rooted anxiety. Like, I don't know. I like to eat my skin. Anyway, that's glamour. That's glamour.
Yes.
Because that was super helpful. So like that. And then like, yes, painting, art, and just
adorning the world around you so that you can channel a certain energy and feeling.
All of those things that you likely already do, it's glamour. I just realized how deep rooted, because I was like, oh, glamour magic, cool. It's not really just like a sect of magic. It like is magic. You know? It is the boat that the dude's taken us on in the, forgot what suit it was, the Six of Swords. Yeah. It's the boat. It's like everything about that where it's like we're taking ourselves to another place. That's powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
What's another like what do you think of from pop culture when you think of a glamour spell?
Well, of course, The Craft.
The Craft. I wanted to mention The Craft, where she changes her hair color.
Yeah, iconic.
It's iconic. I love that, and then she shakes it out.
Yeah. Well, and then later it gets scary when like Nancy changes all the way into, is it Sarah?
Yeah,
I can't remember her name. Yeah. And like hooks up with the like not nice dude. Yeah.
And then Skeet jumps out the window.
And then she's like,
that's glamour. That's a really literal example of like, and if you can do that, more power to you.
Teach me.
Teach me your ways. Because that's cool.
Well, and I think like on a simpler level, especially if you're not into costume. Like I personally fucking love costume. When I get dressed outside of sweatpants, I try to make every outfit
You have very
a costume.
cute outfits.
And for a long time, I like toned that down because of the environments I was working in. I had a boss who would like make fun of me when I would wear clothes that made me happy. But lately, I've been like amping it up again because then I went through the maternal guilt of like moms can't wear stuff like this.
You know what? I'm going to pause you because you know what really pisses me off? When people comment on what other people are fucking wearing in a neutral to negative way.
Yes.
It made me like not, it's so fucked up because I have a very feminine style. Like, and I was raised by like my mom who doesn't, and that's fine. She never wore makeup. She didn't fucking need that. Whatever. That's not her thing. But like, I was very like, clearly I'm like, she had to learn how to curl my hair. And she did it for me. You know, like she would help me with my little glamour things. And like, I had to teach myself how to, you know, ruin my eyebrows and pluck them all out. But like, I just remember not by my parents, but just like my extended family would to this day. And sometimes like just when they comment on young girls' appearance, I'm the oldest cousin, so I got all that shit. Just any sort of comment on a young girl's appearance or a person's appearance, it really fucks with your head because you're conscious of what you look like to a point where like if you don't want that attention from the patriarchal society we live in, to be quite honest with you, you tone it down. You tone down what you actually want to look like. Or if you're like your sexuality is in question or whatever, like same thing. It's like just fucking stop. Because there's people that are telling you that like are fucking bored and obviously have nothing else to think of or are boring as fuck and don't like
fucking
you know
brainwashed by
it's just like I just remember being super affected by that. And also to add on to that, I'm just realizing this as I'm talking, I was a girl who I used glamour as a way of protecting myself by blending in with males.
Yeah.
I have a lot of male friends and I hung out with all dudes in high school, if you could not tell. My personality has been affected deeply by it, but like laughing at the man show, things like that, where it's like just using glamour is always like opposite, like removing the glamour. It is a glamour. Do you know what I mean? Like toning down that.
It can go in any direction, right? Glamour doesn't have to embody like that.
It doesn't embody more.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like Hollywood, big sparkle glitter.
Maybe I wanted that, but I would wear, you know, jeans, sweaters, like covering myself.
That is a protection. Like that's
to protect myself because, you know, when we were growing up, like things were really like masculine centered and like movies like American Pie and things that I thought were fucking great. You look at now and they're fucking terrible.
Disgusting,
they're disgusting and I can't even watch them. And I used to just tra-la-la, whatever, not be offended by things to fit in, to just fly under the radar and to survive. How fucked up is that?
Yeah.
I just realized that's been a big part of my life currently is undoing that.
Yeah.
And like finding like my magic in the past like 20 years again, or you know, whatever, just leaning into it. And like I'm still allowing myself to wear a dress in public without being like, will this be too much, perceived as too much?
Yeah, I go through that
what
too.
Will people look at me like? It's such a weird anxiety.
Am I going to become a target? But the truth is, like, we're always targets.
We're always targets anyway. It doesn't fucking matter.
It doesn't fucking
or
matter.
like looking like extra shitty. So that, or like, hey, I'm gonna go to Home Depot. I better change into pants.
I better put pants on. Yeah, totally.
I kind of don't give a shit anymore. But like, you know, it's still like a thought that I have.
Or even like, okay, my grandparents
glamour.
don't speak English. And something that my abuela was always very adamant about was like, if I'm leaving the house and going out in public, I am wearing a perfectly monochromatic outfit. Pressed jeans, heels that match, purse that match, all her jewelry and all her makeup, because she knew that people would not respect her. Like they would automatically default to treating her badly because she didn't speak English.
Right.
But if she put out all the stops, she would gain a little bit more respect from the world around her, whether it's the person at the grocery store or especially in doctor's offices, which is something that a lot of people of color, especially Black women, like suffer from not being believed in spaces like that. And we turn to things like Glamour Magick to help us look in a certain way so that people that we are depending on will take us seriously.
Damn, that's so true.
Yeah. It's not always
so
fun.
true.
Like sometimes it's just about like survival.
Truly.
Yeah.
It's just like adapting to get what you need. And some people have to work extra fucking hard at that shit. That's fucking weird.
It always comes back here.
And it always comes. No, it does, because I think, well, it makes it hard for people that are fucking oppressed in whatever way to like feel okay about expressing themselves or to use the glamour for a positive way and in like a, you know, in a different way than maybe they're used to. Oh, fuck. That makes me mad.
Yeah.
Like I'm 36 fucking years old. I should be able to wear what the hell I want and go anywhere and not be, you know, but I'm like traditionally attractive or whatever. So it's just been a constant, like lifelong, like, I don't want your attention. I'm one of you. You cannot fuck with me because I'm one of you. And it's worked. You know, you talk like a dude, you act like a dude, you take on masculine energy, more masculine energy than you maybe want to.
Yeah.
That's been my life.
Yeah.
For a long time it was. And
that's Glamour Magick too.
But
it was in a way that was like protecting the authentic parts of you rather than amplifying the authentic parts of you. And then that goes back to how like manipulation is a neutral word and we can manipulate our own energies in any fucking direction through glamour.
That is so crazy.
I know, huh?
But it's such an important part of magic to just think of it like that, because it's not just putting on lipstick and like your abuela like having to do all this. That's totally makes sense. You know, that's so like we all sort of dress for the jobs we want, right? But
some of us have to dress for the jobs that like we have, or you know, like even though I wanted to be a professional witch, I was still working in corporate retail or
when I was a real estate agent, it was like before I was full-time, I was like, I'm a real estate, what do I wear? I
didn't want to be too much.
I was trying to be the witchy realtor. Okay?
Yeah, it was cute though.
It was cute. Hey, it was what I knew, right? But I was like, I don't want to wear a collared shirt.
Yeah, no.
I want to wear whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. Oh man.
I definitely
I wrote something really funny.
What?
Colors have traditional meanings, but fuck them.
No, truly.
Let's talk about it for a minute.
What does a color mean to you?
Because you know, colors we all have the, you know, the Welland correspondence, whatever tells us whatever yellow means happiness or whatever. And that's not always true for everybody. I think color is very individual, and that's how you should practice. So if you're like, I really want to wear yellow today, but I'm trying to banish something, fucking wear it and see what happens. You know, until you can there are little, like, it's good if you're beginning and you want to just try out some stuff. Those guidelines
can be helpful as you're figuring your own shit out.
Or if you're explaining it to someone and you know, you're explaining, like, because they have been around for a while, whoever made it up, I don't know. They're probably just sort of our collective experience mixed into like a chart, right?
Right.
Which is fine. It's like a census, a color census, right? Most people think black is protective, right? But then there are exceptions.
There are people who think that like black is like negative, like dark energy.
Yeah.
Quote unquote dark energy.
Yeah. There's or like pink might not be, or red might not be love to you.
It could be war.
It could be blood. You know?
Which, I mean, that all goes together in my head.
And that can be, you know, if you're like, oh, I want to know, like that goes back to like different ancestries and different things, and different cultures like believe different shit. And it's all correct. What?
Yeah. Embrace the colors that call out to you, because it's usually for a reason.
I said, but fuck them. I just, unless I'm explaining something very broadly and like at a broad platform, I'll use those. But always ask somebody, if you're working with somebody, like, I want to paint this black. How do you feel about that? You know, or like, I want to do, you know, do you like lavender? I was vending and somebody was like, they were wearing pink overalls, and they were like looking at my shit, and they did that shitty thing where they're like, well, I don't really like all this lilac, but blah. And I was like, well, clearly I do, so go away.
Make your own then.
I'm like, you're wearing pink over. How do you not like lilac, but you like this fucking salmon pink you're wearing? Like, is that much of a jump? Fuck you. It was rude.
It's rude. I have one spirit guide who will only let me channel her if I'm in red. Like red dress, red scarf,
there you go,
red lips. And she's like, okay, I'm here. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's very individual, you know? That's so funny.
But I think also, like, what was I thinking about? Oh, I was reading this really good article by Kaitlyn who's really a glamour witch, like an artist. And something she mentioned, she was talking about having like a connection to Marilyn Monroe and always really loving the glamour of Marilyn Monroe and visiting Hollywood and going to the Roosevelt. And she said that in going to the Roosevelt and channeling the frequency of that space, she started to feel more glamorous, like Marilyn, channeling the energy of the environment, drinking a certain cocktail, wearing a sequin dress, like all of those things helped her to feel like a starlet and to channel that energy.
Transform, to get on the boat and go to the other side.
Yes, totally.
That's really interesting.
I really like that idea of channeling the frequency of a place to direct like what you're trying to call in. Like, say you want to be, I don't know, you want to have your own fucking Vegas show and like hanging out in Vegas and like channeling the energy of those like casinos and hotel rooms and like smoky bars and trying to absorb some of that and like turn it into your costume and the way you're presenting yourself to the world, or presenting yourself through your art or your craft. Yeah. It's kind of a cool way to do glamour magic.
That is something I think we all do when it's not fake it till you make it, but it's like research. It's like, it's like when I go to the East Coast or to an old cemetery on the East Coast, I'm taking in the environment and looking at the gravestone decorations and the adornments and getting inspired. And not that I want to be a ghost in the fucking cemetery, but yeah, like taking in that energy and like, okay. And then like putting it into what I make, or like the ocean, or like things like that. Yeah, that's really, and if you get really specific with it, it's like when they say you need to live in LA to act. It's not just because that's where the work and the jobs are. It's because that's
the energy.
That's where the energy is. This is where that environment. We're in Los Angeles. That is where, I don't know if we've ever mentioned that before.
Oh yeah, we're in LA.
We're in Los Angeles. That's where you go to the Roosevelt and you meet someone at a bar, and then they know somebody that knows somebody, and then you make connections. And
absolutely,
the word I hate the most in the world, network.
But there's something about like authentically, like just talking to people here, that all of a sudden you find yourself connecting with all these people that like it's wild. There's no place like LA.
There's a guy, how I got an agent in LA when I was acting. I just moved here. I volunteered at this thing called Young Storytellers, which is a foundation that volunteers go into schools and teach kids how to write screenplays.
That's
and
cool.
Then it's so cool. And then we would have actors come and perform their cold read and perform their stories for the whole school.
I love that.
And we took the kids that were, the oddballs
Yeah.
and put them into something creative, because they can transmutate and use their glamour to create a story for themselves, right? So anywho, this guy that was another mentor, his name was Ramsey, and he's since passed away, so rest in peace, Ramsey. His roommate was a fucking agent. I met him like the first week I volunteered. He's like, oh yeah, she'll be your agent. And I was like, okay. And then I was with them for like 5 or 6 years.
Amazing.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So that, like, by being here, that's
By channeling the energy of this city.
Yeah, the city, and just the city is so fucking cool because it's everywhere. You meet people and you're like, what the fuck do you do? Everyone here is doing that. Everyone here is sucking, and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not nice.
It can be extremely toxic as fuck, but everyone is like sucking the energy.
Comes in.
This is where you use your discernment, because there are sharks and charlatans and scary people here that will take advantage of you. But the thing that's like intoxicating about Los Angeles is that everyone is doing something. Doing something.
Everybody knows somebody who
Everybody knows somebody who knows
Yeah.
somebody. And it's just, that's how things happen. Versus like a small town where those things aren't happening.
Yeah. And if like quiet, gentleness, slowness is something that you want to embody within yourself and around yourself, then like those are the spaces for you, small towns, for sure.
Yeah.
I read this really cool quote from Amy Green, who was the wife of Marilyn Monroe's personal photographer, Milton Green. And it goes, I'll never forget the day Marilyn and I were walking around New York City, just having a stroll on a nice day. She loved New York because no one bothered her there like they did in Hollywood. She could put on her plain Jane clothes and no one would notice her. A glamour. She loved that. So as we were walking down Broadway, she turns to me and says, do you want to see me become her? I didn't know what she meant, but I just said yes, and then I saw it. I don't know how to explain what she did because it was so very subtle, but she turned something on within herself that was almost like magic. And suddenly, cars were slowing and people were turning their heads and stopping to stare. They were even recognizing that this was Marilyn Monroe, as if she pulled off a mask or something, even though just a second ago, nobody noticed her. I had never seen anything like it before. Like, that's fucking glamour magic. To just pull it out of yourself.
That's literally magical. That's wow.
Right? To have those two different versions of you, like plain Jane blends in with the crowd. Like, that's one glamour. And then to just like feel it inside of yourself and turn it on, a different glamour. That's fucking cool.
You have to have a lot of control to do that. That's very impressive and kind of scary that she had that
terrifying.
ability.
The power.
The power and that she was able to manifest that. She's a very intelligent person.
She's a great witch.
She's a great witch.
Oh, Marilyn.
Marilyn.
I just think getting into character is so fun, no matter what character you want to be. Like, humans are like multifaceted crystals, and we can't always be all of the versions of ourselves at one time, but we can tap into the different versions of ourselves when it suits us and like adorn ourselves or adjust our perspective or our language so that it suits these different parts of ourselves. As
Do you know who literally does that all
world.
the time?
Who?
Actors.
Yeah.
That's literally what I learned how to do. And that's really funny that acting, I did a lot of very witchy things when I went to my conservatory. And it was like, looking back now, I'm like, what the fuck? It's witchcraft, it's magic, it's glamour, it's training yourself how to do exactly what you just said. Flip a switch, do a thing, and you're another person, and your perspective is from this imaginary character.
Yes.
Not yourself.
But sometimes.
But depending on your method of acting and how you access that, you transmutate your real experiences in life to someone else's experience, and you sort of compare and
you become them.
I literally think it's called transmutation.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it and remembering these things.
That also reminds me of just like being queer. And like when you're in queer spaces, you get to embody this different version of you than like when you're, say, going to the optometrist or visiting your conservative grandma. Like you have to like shift and adjust into different personalities to fit into the environment you're moving into. You put on these different characters. Yeah, totally.
It's being a witch. Like, how can I talk about this? Usually I'm pretty open wherever I go, but sometimes I don't want to get questions and I don't want to.
I feel that.
But on this podcast, it's like full blown.
Yeah, we get to be full witches.
We get to talk about the things that we don't get to talk about with other people.
Without being afraid.
Without being afraid or judged or...
I get so much anxiety when other parents at school ask me what I do. I'm like,
Right, or like, what do you do? And I'm like, sometimes I either say, I own a witch shop, which sounds like I have a store. And so I don't really say that. Or like I make things for witches. It's a lot, but then sometimes I just say, oh, I own an online shop.
Yeah.
If I don't want to tell this person, if I don't want to get into it.
Exactly.
You know.
And that takes our like discernment to know whether or not it's worth investing.
Yeah. And then
our time and energy into explaining ourselves.
Yeah. And then it's like the term, and then I use the term witchy instead of witch, which I think softens it a little bit, which is not something I'm proud of, but it's a tool that I use.
Yeah.
And everyone uses, quite frankly. It's an adjective and it's also a
way to like protect yourself a little bit.
It's weird. I have a weird relationship with that term, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is LA, so I've run into less
people here don't give a shit.
But even still, I'll start with like, oh, I'm a psychic, because I feel like that's more accessible to folks.
Then do people go, oh, tell me my future?
Sometimes. What are the lotto numbers?
What are the lotto numbers? Are the Raiders going to win?
If I knew, I wouldn't be talking to you. If I knew the lotto numbers, I would be sitting in the living room of my estate with the air conditioner on.
Yes.
Waiting for my Postmates.
I just got so hungry. I love Postmates.
I think a really simple way to incorporate Glamour Magick into your life, even if you're not into costume and makeup, is like, what are your self-care rituals? Like, do you wash your face with soap? Do you
hand soap like my fucking husband?
No, you do not.
Tisk, tisk. I cannot get him to stop.
Well, my husband uses the same like yellow bar of soap all over him. I'm like, oh my God.
And his skin's probably perfect, right?
Yeah. How do they? It's
That's
rude.
glamour. How the fuck do you pull that off?
It's annoying.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Go on.
But whether it's, your face wash, putting on moisturizer, and just like saying really subtle, giving those items and those processes some purpose. Like, may this enchant me with the courage to respond to the situations that I'm in grace. Or if you're putting eye cream on, may this help me see the opportunities that I desire in front of me. If you're putting chapstick on, may my words be sweet for others so that they receive them well and I can get what I want. There are lots of little ways that you can glamorously enchant the things that you're using anyway.
Yeah.
To enchant the world around you, really.
Yeah, and you can like use words or you can activate them with smoke if that's appropriate for you, like a bell.
Yeah,
sound.
I love a bell.
Have a playlist even. I think
just
music
a feeling.
Music can be cleansing as well. So
I feel like music is a really good way. Music's a great way to channel like Glamour Magick.
What song was the Six of Swords?
Riding in a Fast Car.
Oh, Tracy Chapman. Is it fast enough so we can fly away?
Yeah.
Transmute. I love that song.
I love that song. But it's like, if you want to be like a bad bitch who's making a bunch of money, like listen to like
Cardi B.
Oh my God, that whole album was like a manifestation.
Bodak Yellow like pumps me up.
Or like Bia, A Whole Lot of Money. I like listening to that one too.
Just anything. Really. Foxy Brown, like Lil Kim. Or like female rappers.
In general.
If
you want,
Nicki Minaj.
To feel like, you're in charge of your life and your world. Absolutely.
That's
yeah. Or if you're interested in like Venusian energy, like, you know, put together a playlist of love songs, like adorn yourself. Like Venus isn't just pink. Like Venus is all the colors of like fertility and nature. Like even this outfit, I think is very Venusian.
I do too.
Yeah.
There's flowers. I think they're roses with gold sparkles.
Yeah.
And a thread on my boobie.
Yeah.
Oh, a titty
Don't
thread.
pull.
It came out.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah, no, it's... It's like what, like I've been listening to, because I saw Florence and the Machine recently, and I wasn't like a super big Florence and the Machine fan until this latest album, because my assistant Feather's really into Florence, and I'm into Florence's style and just the way that she presents her. Oh my God,
I get it. Yeah.
So it was more aesthetic, but then the new album is really good. The Dance Fever album is pretty good because it's more dark.
Okay.
And it's just really good.
Witchy.
And it's about like her finding, like, embracing her independence and like not being a mother or a bride.
Yeah.
There's a song that says, "I am no mother, I am no bride, I am king."
Oh.
And it's so fucking good. Yeah. It's just, that's like the chorus, and it's badass. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been like, powerful and confident is what I've been invoking. What about
channeling
you? What have you been listening
inner
to?
witch. I've been listening to a lot of Dolly Parton.
There you go.
Like nonstop happy. Dolly Parton.
Makes me happy.
And just
joyful.
Like, I love that she is such a brilliant songwriter and that she tells stories in every song. Like there's a full like feature film in every single song, no matter how many minutes long it is. And I just fucking like love Dolly. I love that she has no problem, like we said earlier, like she is Glamour Magick embodied. She puts on this character and she doesn't give a fuck what anybody says about the way she looks and the way she dresses. She's like, this is who I am in public, and you'll either love me or hate me for it. And I think like most people fucking love her for it. Yeah. And it kind of helps remind me that like, Kate, like you can be your full self all the time. I get super caught in my head, like, what are the other parents going to think if I wear this? Yeah. How is that going to affect my kids if I wear this?
You do need to think about that to a certain extent. It's like...
But I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm like, well, like, I'm just Hunter's quirky mom, and that's fine. I always think in the back of my head, did you ever see Chocolat with like...
Are you kidding me?
I know you saw it, but I always come back to the part where her daughter's like, why do you have to wear red shoes? Why can't you wear black shoes like the other mother?
Like the other mothers. Oh, I love that movie.
And I'm like, am I embarrassing them? But then I look at my kids and they're wearing like 8 different patterns, 2 different shoes.
It tracks.
One of them has a mohawk. Like, we're fine.
Makes sense. They're not looking at you like, where do these kids come from?
They're like, my mom lets me wear whatever I want.
That movie's a good example of glamour magic and other types of magic, because she's in a place that she's very bright, in a place that's very not and very judgmental, and she doesn't fucking care.
She doesn't fucking care.
Like Dolly, she doesn't get
and
what's
she
her
ends
name?
up bringing the brightness.
What's her name?
Instead of being dimmed by them. Juliette Binoche. Yeah.
We like her.
We love her.
That movie.
I know.
And then realizing that like she never backs down from it.
No.
She just pushes through it. And then everyone else,
they realize
it's really good.
They've all been glamoring themselves down.
Yeah, like
and
the priest
being around
or the
her makes
Monsieur, what is his name?
Yeah, whatever.
The villain is like a priest. I call him the priest because I don't have any other words.
Well, he's not the priest. He's more like the mayor.
Okay, the mayor.
But he's involved with the church.
He's very churchy, and he's the mayor. And at the end, spoilers for Chocolat. If you have not seen this masterpiece, stop listening. Okay,
forward.
So at the end of there's this Easter, they have this Easter Sunday thing, and Juliette Binoche makes chocolate, spoiler alert, and she makes all these really like femme, like goddess nipples of Venus. She makes all these really like inappropriate things to this guy. He's like, oh my God. But in the end, like he like breaks down and like he breaks into her shop and like gorges himself and cries while he's eating this chocolate because he's having this emotional breakdown. And they find him the next day and he's just like passed out
in the window.
And they're just, she's like, here, have some tea. Like I knew, like she knew it would happen. And so it's like they bent to her glamour like spells
Well,
and
it's almost
or just
like
being
they stood
herself.
up straight. I feel like the town was making them all
like
small.
suppressed.
And
And
but
then
her being herself, they were
brought
like
them all out. It's and the woman that's being abused. Oh my God,
It's
that
just so
movie is
good.
it's perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those that I watched many times.
It's
I feel like
really good.
It's part of like witch canon as well.
I've
in
been
a
wanting to
way,
do something
you know?
with Chocolat for a long time. It's one of my favorite movies for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And a
Absolutely.
great example of glamour, I think. So you should watch that.
And it also is an example of like anti-Romany, anti-traveler
Yes.
racism.
Yes.
in
Johnny Depp's also in
Europe.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, a classic.
They use the G word a lot.
Oh, do they use the G word in that
Yeah.
movie? I don't remember.
In a way that's like...
Yeah, but isn't it
But
only
they-
the G words? Like the Romany, the travelers are saying
I think
it.
he says something like, oh, they say we're this or something like that.
yeah.
I don't know.
I have to rewatch
But
it.
there's a whole... It has a lot going on and it's so good.
Yeah, it's a
about
good one.
religious repression.
Truly, yeah. And like motherhood and...
It taught me a lot when
and
I was a kid.
womanhood and
Yeah.
all those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
A classic.
It's so good.
One of those movies that I think a lot of like witchy people like hold near.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom showed me that. She showed me all those like...
My mom too.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I was
up.
older I was like, oh, like all of your cultures are represented in this movie because my
Right.
mom's like great grandmother, yeah, is indigenous, but
Yeah.
then like on her dad's side we're Italian Romani, and I was just like, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you don't even know why you love this, but I know why you
Yeah.
love this now.
And she's a mixed indigenous person too.
I'm trying to like fit in, but not really.
But not really.
No, trying to
But,
make
like,
a living.
grappling with that.
Yeah, truly grappling with that. Does she want to fit in? Is she just trying to like be her? Yeah, it's
But
so
she
you just have to
always
watch
is
it.
like, no.
She chooses herself.
And then like the ancestral pressure of like continuing like
The travels.
travels and traditions
Yeah.
and sort of, do I break that? What does that mean?
Am I conforming
Am
if
I
I break it,
yeah.
or am I being myself?
Yeah,
ugh,
it's so
good.
There's a lot of layers.
So many layers. Like a delicious chocolate cake.
What's her name? Julie
Julie-
Dench.
Oh, Judi Dench.
Judi Dench.
Dame Judi Dench is in it.
Dame Judi Dench is in it,
Yeah.
and she's fucking phenomenal.
Per usual.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Okay,
all the greats.
we could talk about it forever.
Do we want to do a spirit candy?
I have a spirit candy.
Please share.
Spirit candy.
Spirit candy.
Spirit candy. Okay, I automatic wrote this yesterday. I just said, go. It's like a spout that I go boop and it just comes out. And then I go and it stops. Isn't that weird? I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably not to you.
I was
but,
like, no, it's not weird at all.
It's so instant.
Especially the more you practice it. Yeah, it really
Yeah.
is like a little faucet.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes when it's backed up, I also feel like it gets backed up.
Yeah,
when I don't do it.
absolutely.
And then it's like, just get out. And I'm like, fuck. That must be how you feel about like spirits sometimes. Like, you need to turn off this faucet. I'm going to turn it on.
It never turns off.
So I'm going to try and read this. I don't know who it's from. Expression feeds the mind, body, and soul. Returning to the creative center of your life is healing a different way that vines out and feeds others the aspects of you.
Vines
So,
out and feeds
vines out
others.
and feeds like I got like a visual of like
That's
the plants.
juicy.
The plants being watered by your creative center. I don't always talk
Yeah.
about me, probably, or in general,
Or
like
anyone
what it can do.
who's receiving
But
from it. Yeah.
yeah,
I
like
like
that,
that.
activating that can be really healing and can, you know what I mean? Like things that you don't think are associated with. You ask someone, are you creative? What do you do creatively? Oh, I don't know, like nothing. Do you paint? Do you sing? Do you like act? Do you dance? Like, what do you do?
Do you cook?
Do you cook? Do you
Do you
your
decorate
makeup?
your home? Yes. Do you do your
Do
makeup?
you paint? Like, do you garden? Like, what do you do? That's creative, you know? Do you make like crocheted doilies? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how does that affect the rest of your life? Like, if you don't activate that, if you do, then what? It reminds me of my dad. My dad found singing. Like, he's a singer, and he didn't sing until this is so fucking funny, but like, do you know the movie The Wedding Singer?
Absolutely, I know that movie.
We got the DVD of The Wedding Singer, and on the special features there was karaoke.
Yes, I remember.
And my family and I started doing it, and my dad was just like, something activated in him, and he was just like, wholesome. I'm a motherfucking singer. It was so, and then ever since then he's sang, and we do karaoke together, and it's a big thing.
I love that.
So he found like his creative, like what he loves. And I'm sure that affected him in a positive way. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. So it's like so little cute shit, like a fucking DVD extras. Like, these things don't need to be profound, right?
No.
But sometimes maybe that's the missing piece.
Yeah. They don't need to be profound, and they don't need to be like your entire identity or the way you make money. It just needs to be something that feels fucking good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about you? Got anything?
I have a little spirit candy. This I was writing when I was like asking my guides questions, and something I asked was, how can I stand in my strength with grace, rather than standing in my strength with anger and aggression?
Right.
And they wrote back, how can you stand in your strength with grace? By taking a moment to breathe before taking action. Any action, all action. One deep breath, the pause before the response, a glimpse of the future before pushing send. Breath and time are the support you need. Patience with yourself. And I thought this was interesting because in one of the articles that I read so many different things about Glamour Magick in the last couple days, but in one of them they noted like a pause before speaking as Glamour Magick, like a pause before your response as Glamour Magick. And I do agree. When you're in conversation with someone, whether it's a conversation full of ease or a conversation with somebody who you're trying to, get something from, and that's not always negative. Like maybe you want to be signed for something or get hired for something. But that simple pause really helps you take control of the whole conversation and can like shift it very much in your favor and give you that little glimpse of insight so you know exactly the right thing to say.
So true. Listening.
Listening
is important.
Having some patience with yourself. Listening to the voices in your head before spitting things out.
Oh, too. God, that's the story of my life and my marriage counseling therapy. Sorry, babe. Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. And it's hard. It's harder to do with like things that you're, for example, might want to cut this out, but I don't care. When I drive, I get a little mad sometimes at the drivers. And when I'm alone, I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And no one's in the car. But when Mike's in the car, he's like, why are you yelling? Why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, I'm not yelling at you. It's like, but you're yelling. And I'm like, fuck, you're right.
Okay.
I have to be considerate of
others.
So if I would think before I did that, that would be helpful.
Totally.
And considerate, but that's a little bit of a side note. But
yeah.
That's just a good idea in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that intelligence to listen and to pay attention to what's going, read the room
and give yourself a second to like collect your thoughts, because sometimes the first thing you feel inclined to say isn't what you actually mean. I'm talking to you, Geminis, us.
Me. Oh God. Yeah. I say some really mean shit.
We can't help ourselves. But we learn to help ourselves.
I've done a lot of work with like doing that exact same thing.
Me too. I've had to learn. It took a lot of practice.
It's really hard for us. We're all quiet now. We're like,
I know, we're like, oh, shame.
I think this podcast has helped because I don't know what it is about us, but we have a very easy way of talking. We don't talk over each other a lot. Yeah. I feel like we have a natural cadence, and that's nice.
It is nice.
It's nice. It's nice to practice that and be like, oh, this is how it should be.
Is this how I'm supposed to communicate with the world?
I guess so.
You know what's funny is like when I'm in sessions with clients, I'm so fucking good at it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm an amazing listener. I'm amazing at responding rather than reacting. And I think because there's so much preparation that goes into getting into that character of being the person who is of service. But then when I'm like hanging out with my husband and he's like, what time are we going to this? I'm like,
Like, what do you mean?
why would you ask me that? And he's like,
I don't know.
He's like, you don't have to be mean to me. I'm like, I'm not being mean. Oh, maybe
God,
I'm
that
being
sounds
mean.
exactly like me. Exactly.
He's like,
think
I
I told Mikey
understand
he
you're
was
tired,
stupid
but you
last
don't
night.
have to be mean to me.
It's like, you don't have to comment on everything. I said something really mean last night. And I was like, fuck, that was really reactive.
Robbie Hart, I am the asshole.
I am the asshole. When she finds the music sheet. God, that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that preparation and that glamour that you put on before you speak to clients is what prevents you from being the asshole.
Absolutely.
And it is that sense of awareness that I'm trying to develop, where it's like, okay, I'm a nice person. Like, let's be considerate. Because when I do those things, I'm not thinking about anything but myself, or
Yeah.
I'm just not paying attention.
Or I'm like fully dissociated.
yeah, yeah, or I'm grumpy or whatever. Like, there's all these things that it's like,
Overstimulated. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, okay, like they said, taking that breath is nice. I take a breath before we do this.
Yeah, me too.
Or a minute or a moment or a peep or something.
I have to take breaths before I like engage with my kids. Sometimes.
God, yeah.
Sometimes it's real easy, but sometimes it's not. I also realize that like maybe the reason it's so easy for me to snap at my partner is because I spend so much time like breathing and getting into like a certain role with other people in my world, like my children, my clients, the other parents at school, the teachers at school, that like he's like my safe person. So I'm like, ugh.
That's how I feel, and that becomes like a not good thing.
Exactly.
It becomes manipulative,
but not in a helpful way.
You're not abusing them, but I mean, you're sort of like, you're so comfortable that you just will say whatever you want without the filter, but you actually still need to have that filter for your partner.
Yeah, totally.
If they're like, you're fucking pissing me off, you're being mean, you have to like listen and not be like, no, I'm not. That wasn't my intention.
Yeah, you can't do
It's
that
like
because that's gaslighting.
That's gaslighting as fuck, and something
you
I've
have to
done.
be like, you're right. I
Yeah,
was mean.
I was mean.
Let me say that again.
Your feelings are valid. It's a little marriage counseling 101 for you here on this Glamour episode. That is a weird tangent I didn't expect.
Dude, like long-term marriage is a weird place to be.
weird place
but
to be.
You figure it out a little bit every single day.
That really is the key, is like, is respecting the other person.
Yeah.
Because when you don't, it's not good.
and recognizing when you slip up.
Yeah, and being like, wow, I'm the asshole. Do you have any questions?
Let's see. I might. Is there I'm not going to save that. I'll save that one for a different episode. Do you ever need to set boundaries with your spirit guides? Oh, you know what? I'm going to save that one for another episode too. I like this one, especially for Glamour Magic. I'm torn between helping to break the stigma of witchcraft and staying in the broom closet. What should I do?
You being in the broom closet is not breaking the stigma. Being in the broom closet is a completely valid place to be, a safe place to be, and I honestly envy some people that are in the broom. Sometimes I feel like going back in there too. Not gonna lie.
Is there still room for me?
I think, no, in all seriousness, I think by you existing, I'm gonna fucking cry. Wow. By you existing and practicing and keeping that close to your heart and not letting it be affected by people is as authentic as you can fucking get.
Yep. And like, there's no reason to leave a safe space unless you really feel in your heart that you need to. You have to. It's like the energy of the Fool card. Like, I can't help myself. I must come out. And whether you're a witch or you're queer or you're trans, like, you're no less valid in your authentic identity, even if you're still in the closet. Like, who you know you are is still the real you, even if you don't feel safe or comfortable coming out to the rest of the world with who you are.
Yeah.
So should you stay in the broom closet? Should you come out? Like, you alone coming out is not going to end all stigma against witchcraft. So, like, release yourself of that burden.
Yeah. You're not hurting witchcraft by being in the broom closet.
Exactly.
You're not. There are those of us like us, or like myself, I'll speak for myself, who I feel a calling to speak about it and to spread awareness about it. And that's my thing. But there are times, like I mentioned, that I want to be in there with you. Yeah.
That sacredness.
Because it's a scary, the sacredness of your secrecy is, it's, I miss it sometimes.
Yeah. It really is spiritual protection. So do what feels good to you, and like, don't allow the pressure of the world around you or what you see on social media be the driving force behind coming out of the broom closet. Let, your desire to emerge be what pulls you out if and when you feel ready.
Yeah.
That was the question.
Yeah, that was the question.
Wow.
That was a good one.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.
And thank you
for listening to this episode. What is my line?
Thank you for tuning into Third Eye Blind.
And thank you for tuning in to Third Eye Bind.
Be sure to leave us a message on the Third Eye line.
Bye-bye.
Until next week. Bye.
Take care of yourselves.
Take care of each other.
Take care of each other. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow the podcast at Third Eye Bind Pod on Instagram. There, submit your questions via the Third Eye line by sending us a voice message or text DM. The show is available wherever you listen to podcasts and for you to watch on YouTube. Get early access to episodes and even monthly one-on-one sessions with us by joining our Patreon. Find us at patreon.com/thirdeyebind. Third Eye Bind is produced and edited by Mike Realm. Hosted by Kaitlyn Grania and Laura Wong. Music by Mike Realm. Set design by Laura Wong. You can find Laura on Instagram at Lady Moon Co. And you can find Kaitlyn at kaitlyn.grania.